Hello everyone, you're watching NDTV and I'm Maria Shakil. 3 events, though disconnected, has made the opposition say that there is no level playing field in the Lok Sabha polls. We'll examine if the charge is justified on the big fight tonight. Let me tell you about these events. First, the most recent one. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal arrested by the Enforcement Directorate in his alleged role in the Delhi liquor policy case. Aam Aadmi Party and the entire opposition has called it unconstitutional, his arrest as unconstitutional, and that it is targeting of opposition ahead of polls. Kejriwal is the second Chief Minister from India bloc to be arrested in recent months. His arrest has united the anti-BJP coalition, which has been struggling to set aside their differences over seat-sharing arrangements. The arrest coming on the day the Congress brass said that systematic effort to cripple the party financially is being made. Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge, flanked by Congress General Secretary Jairam Ramesh and AICC Treasurer Ajay Makan, addressed a press conference and said that the Congress was unable to conduct normal campaign activities like paying its workers, publishing pamphlets and booking advertisement slots. Sources say that IT department moved to recover 135 crore on March 16th only after various appellate authorities dismissed the Congress's stay plea, and the Delhi High Court also rejected its appeal on March 13th with adverse remarks. And all these developments coming at a time when the opposition had welcomed the Supreme Court February 15th judgment of declaring electoral bonds unconstitutional. Over the last few days, the SBI, that is the State Bank of India, has submitted details to the Election Commission. The larger sense is that in this move to ensure transparency and level playing field in political donation, the BJP has been the biggest beneficiary of these bonds. Today, opposition leaders visited the Election Commission. They have petitioned the poll panel over alleged misuse of ED, CBI and income tax. They have claimed that there is a concerted effort to stifle opposition voices and that it is imperative for the Election Commission to ensure a level playing field. So with weeks to go for the polls, is the opposition justified in saying that the BJP has an unfair advantage in these polls? And can the Election Commission ensure level playing field? Joining me on the show, Anshul Avajit is the spokesperson of the Congress party here in the studio. Tuhin Sinha, national spokesperson of the BJP. We have Siddharth Sharma from Aam Aadmi Party. Colin Gonsalves, senior advocate of the Supreme Court. O.P. Rawat, former CEC. Neerja Chaudhary, senior journalist. And Snehlata Srivastav is constitutional expert. O.P. Rawat, beginning with you. How can the Election Commission, for the sake of democratic process and to ensure a free and fair election, ensure level playing field?
In fact, Election Commission is doing every bit to ensure level playing field by enforcing model code of conduct, by pointing out wherever the violations are, like METI circulating the letter of Viksit Bharat. So I think Election Commission is doing every bit. However, these incidents like arrests, like judgment on electoral bond, information given on electoral bond, that timing is not in the control of Election Commission. And therefore, one can't really put the blame at the doorstep of Election Commission.
Okay, so Election Commission cannot be blamed, but in terms of perception, because we are in the game of perception. Before I bring in the politicians, I want to understand from you, Neerja Chaudhary, and also from Colin Gonsalves, is there a violation of constitutional rights? Colin, coming to you first, because the opposition says that there is a pattern, but in all these cases, none of these, the political parties, be it of the freezing of accounts or in case of arrest of Mr. Kejriwal, they got any relief from courts. Colin.
Well, I'm not surprised, actually. Because I'm not surprised at all, because the Supreme Court today is not like the Supreme Court as it was in the earlier days, a robust institution standing up for human rights and being able to take on the government. The strange thing today is that the Supreme Court has surrendered to the government. Not all benches, not all judges, but largely the Supreme Court is silent when the government overrules its decisions, like in the election case. The appointment of election commissioners, the Supreme Court said the Chief Justice of India should be one of the 3 persons. And you have a frightening situation where a government overrules the Supreme Court. And even more frightening is the fact that after this happens, the Supreme Court is absolutely silent.
Okay.
So we are going through an emergency. It's not Arvind Kejriwal or Sisodi or anybody else. This is an emergency situation. This is the second emergency. And like the first emergency, the judges are bending in favor of the government. And that is not a good thing to go through for a nation like India. Not a good thing for democracy.
Okay. Neerja Chaudhary, your opening comments?
Look, it's, you know, if you put all of it together, you have, you know, 2 chief ministers arrested in cases. Arvind Kejriwal after the notification of elections. Now, it is another matter that, yes, he had defied the summons of the ED, but the election process has kicked in, and an opposition chief minister, whatever be the facts and figures of the case, you know, we don't know that. And what the ED has got and what the counter by Arvind Kejriwal's counsel. But to have, you know, in the full glare of national glare and international glare, your chief minister of Delhi arrested when election process is on, could that not have been postponed till the election process was being completed? I would say that also on other grounds, you know. Of course, the SBI has given the data on electoral bronze. Again, you know, constitutional validity of it. There are the pros and cons of it. That's another story. But, you know, to be Caesar's wife has to be above suspicion in a democracy. And therefore, you know, yes, the Prime Minister may want to cleanse corruption, and we hear that that is going to be a major plank of his in his 3rd term if he comes back to power. But, you know, you're absolutely, the key words that you've used are level playing field. And the accounts of the major opposition party gets frozen again in election time. So how fair is it? What is the impression it gives? What is going to be the reaction of people? The calculation, obviously, by the ruling parties, there's going to be little reaction. And if there is reaction, yes, they will ride the storm. Well, but those are different considerations. But the long-term impact on our democratic structure and on the holding of free and fair elections, yes, it's not a situation that makes you happy. Okay,
Snehlata Srivastav, as a constitution expert, how are you viewing the developments of recent weeks? You have, for the first time in Indian political history, that a chief minister is behind bars. He has not resigned. That was in case of Hemant Soren, he resigned and then he was arrested by the Enforcement Directorate. Mr. Kejriwal, even today, holds the position of the Delhi chief minister.
You see, if you ask me as an expert, the constitution does not have any provision saying that the chief minister in position cannot be arrested. The thing is that it is the moral responsibility of any individual who is on the seat or on any important position to decide about their own, doing. So it is on the individual chief minister. Earlier also, I am told that one of the chief minister did not resign, and similarly, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal is deciding not to resign. So in the constitution, there is no such thing written.
Okay.
But but it is the moral thing which is up to the individual.
Okay, Anshul Avijit, coming to you. If we look at this freezing of account, because Rahul Gandhi has used some very sharp words to say that this is not freezing of account of the Congress party, but freezing of some kind of democracy as well. But the larger question here is that the Congress did not allow the income tax department to do its job. So it's not a new case, it's an ongoing case. And if you look at what the Delhi High Court said, they have had some very sharp observations to make.
No, so then does it justify what is happening on the eve of the elections? I mean, this is not hyperbole, the freezing of Indian democracy. Indian democracy is under siege. You know, you use the right word, level playing field. We seem to forget that there is a basic structure of the constitution in which holding free and fair elections is a part of that. And whenever there is an infringement in that process, which is happening now, you know, by freezing our accounts, by the unprecedented act of arresting chief ministers here, and a number of other things which this government is doing, by the tyranny of its executive powers, that's exactly what is happening. The tyranny of the executive, in which the worst instincts which counter democracy are coming to the fore. Well, it's not a level playing field at all. And when it's not a level playing field, when you throw the opposition in quicksand, when Indian democracy is under siege, when you use the holy trinity of CBI, of income tax and ED.
I'm looking at what the observations were made by the court today while dismissing petitions which were filed by your party against tax reassessment. The Income Tax Department appears to have collated substantial and concrete evidence against Congress to warrant further scrutiny and examination of its income. And in fact, they have talked about how there is a detailed payments which have been made. So any kind of, you know, to look at it from the point of conspiracy, how fair is it?
No, there is a process for going about these things. On the eve of an election, if the largest opposition party's accounts are frozen, there is nothing suspicious about it.
Okay, there's nothing.
When 97% of the cases of ED are directed against opposition, nothing suspicious about it. When a couple of chief ministers are arrested on the eve of the election, the general election, nothing suspicious about it. Okay. There is an element of suspicion, of doubt in the entire process.
So, Hinsana, first respond to the Congress's charge of of freezing their accounts, and then I bring in the Aam Aadmi Party.
Well, good evening, Maria. Good evening, everybody. You know, the inconsistency of the opposition parties and some of the left liberal journalists like Nirja ji is quite amusing. On the one hand, they say, how can you arrest a CM on the eve of elections? But at the same time, when the SBI had requested for time till June 30th to furnish, for furnishing all the details regarding electoral bonds, citing the same reason that election is underway, you know, they had a major problem with that. Now, let us look at each of these. When it comes to electoral bonds, we had been repeatedly saying that we have nothing to hide. And when now the details have come out, it is parties like DMK and TMC have more to answer than us. But any which way, it is way better than, you know, the cash formula, the Hawala money, which used to play a major role in the Congress era. When it comes to Arvind Kejriwal's arrest, you know, there was a trail. I'm
coming to you in just a bit, because the level playing field, absence of it has been leveled by all the opposition. Let's begin with the freezing of accounts, and then I come to Mr. Kejriwal's arrest.
You yourself cited the court ruling today. There has been the Congress has been repeatedly approaching the courts. If they feel that defiance and non-payment, you know, if they feel they're entitled to it, that's their problem, and only a part of their funds are frozen. You know, if Rahul Gandhi says that they don't have money to buy the tickets, he's actually confirming that it is people like Dheeraj Sahu who are still probably funding the Bharat Jodo Nyaya Yatra and whatever. So I think, first of all, Congress needs to be honest with the facts. From 94, 95, they had multiple opportunities to address the situation in various courts, but they kept defying court orders. Even today, the court order very specifically mentions that the Income Tax Department has collated enough information to make a case, and that their plea doesn't hold any ground.
But the Congress is saying that this is a 3-decade-old matter. Could you confirm what exactly is this?
The Congress had opportunities to settle it, even, you know, to my understanding, even 2016, the court had passed a ruling. They had multiple opportunities to settle it. If they refuse to settle it, even today, I repeat, only a part of the funds is frozen. And, you know, the myth which they are propagating holds no ground.
Okay. Now coming to Siddharth Sharma. Siddharth Sharma, Arvind Kejriwal skipped 9 summons. When he approached the Delhi High Court for protection from arrest, that was not something that the the court gave. So ED, if it is taking action, and of course you'll talk about the timing, but had he not skipped those summons, perhaps it would have been a different scenario today. And if we were to look at the ED remand copy, they claim to have some strong evidence against the Chief Minister.
Yeah, Maria, let me at the very outset tell you a little bit jokingly that a dead man walking gets his preferred meal. So I deserve that as an accused today sitting on the hot seat. I believe I'll just try to take that little bit of margin. So why cases against Mr. Arvind Kejriwal or opposition leaders under PMLA only? The PMLA was strengthened to satisfy Global Financial Action Task Force, that is called as the FATF, to stop terror funding through money laundering. The government of the day also has to report to the global body called FATF. The PMLA's draconian provisions reserved for terror funding, arms trading and drug peddling for money laundering have been hoisted on opposition chief ministers like Mr. Arvind Kejriwal. Why is it so? Just because to stop a bilingual national leader from campaigning across India during these elections. Trying to make it a simplified thing, it is like me or Tuhin from BJP asking Virat Kohli to play a match with me, and once I come to know that I cannot get him out, I try to bounce him out and injure him. It is as simple as that. Now, as far as your technical question is concerned about the ED getting a remand, I'll state only 5 sentences and all of them will be facts, no conjectures. ED confessed to court today that after 2 years there is no money trail. Hence, they want Arvind Kejriwal's remand. Well, the firm of the accused Aurobindo Pharma bought electoral bonds worth 30 crore and gave them away to the BJP. The main accused was allowed to turn approver from an accused. Subsequently, the money trail has been recovered. This money trail leads directly to the BJP, isn't it so?
Okay. Let me ask Tuhin to respond to this.
No. See, when it comes to Arvind Kejriwal, whether you take the submission of Kavita, who was arrested previous week, and who is and the South group who she represented is supposed to have given 100 crore rupees. Whether you take the instance of Manish Sisodia, in whose case the court has ruled that there is a part evidence of a trail of some 300 crores. I think there are enough indications to point the complicity of Arvind Kejriwal, which is also corroborated by statements by Arun Nair, his own OSD, and the OSD of Manish Sisodia. So if after 9 summons, Arvind Kejriwal did not think it proper, and by the way, to also respond to Aam Aadmi Party, who says the PMLA Act was amended to harass the opposition, it was amended only with the objective of preventing money laundering and hawala money, which has been at the core of multiple illegal activities and anti-national activities. Were we to know that Aam Aadmi Party, a party which 12 years ago came on the premise of cleaning politics, would be indulging in hawala money and money laundering? So why blame us? The fact is that, you have taken kickbacks from the so-called Southern group. You have meetings of these would take place in the house of Arvind Kejriwal. And in any case, the bigger scam was right in the creation of the cabinet, where 90% of the portfolios were held by 2 people, both of whom were indulging in these deals.
Tuhin, the Supreme Court has done away with the distinction between proceeds of crime and money laundering. And here is an agency which appears certainly to be overactive, perhaps on an overdrive. You cannot, run away from this, that the agencies of the government are seen to be initiating cases only against opposition leaders. Tell me example of one leader who is an ally of the BJP who is currently under the scanner of any of the agencies.
Well, the fact is, if the opposition has a certain culture of taking money, of indulging in corruption, obviously the cases would be on them. There are, the other thing which often journalists say, that there are so many people who have been let off, but fact is there are 5,000 people who have been let off for want of evidence. If there are a few whose corruption has been more overt and they have been found guilty, or they have been, nabbed, then obviously you can't blame the agencies. The agencies have been after
Siddharth Sharma,
one and all.
Respond to that, and then I bring in former Deputy Chief Minister of Chhattisgarh, T.S. Singhdeo, for a brief comment. Yes.
Basically, the BJP spokesperson is saying that there is a law and then there is an abuse of law. A matchbox can be used to cook food for somebody hungry as well as to burn down somebody's house. BJP has decided to burn somebody's house with it and acts like, tell me one thing, Maria, NDTV is a very credible media house. It has always in the past also come up with certain scams in the public domain. How come in the last 10 years of governance in Delhi, not a single scam has been exposed by the media, nor by the CAG, the government's own constitutional body, saying that some wrongdoing has been done? How come the cases hoisted by BJP and BJP are not under the Prevention of Corruption Act that is also existent? Hell, forget about Prevention Corruption Act. You can go to your neighborhood thana and file a 420 case against somebody. That's what exactly was done on Mr. Gautam Adani in a New York County Police Precinct. So how come only PMLA cases have been hoisted? The simple reason is Arvind Kejriwal, being a bilingual person, is going to campaign for not just Aam Aadmi Party but for Team India across India, even in seats that where he will not be contesting.
It is about the treasurer of your party who could have handled the income tax department and ensured that all the documents are submitted on time.
Good evening, Maharaji. Good evening to all the panelists. And I don't know if we'll be getting together before Holi. So Holi greetings to all. I don't know what is going to come out on Holi day. Holi hai and a lot of
Go ahead, sir.
Kurta pulling or shirt pulling is done. So I hope there is some news that the ED has gone and approached, someone. That should be Holi day news. It's not going to happen in reality. So let it happen on Holi. So lighter talk apart. You mentioned the Congress account. What is the amount concerned? 14.5 lakhs. What is the penalty? The supposed penalty for wrong filing of returns is supposed to be, or late filing of returns is 10,000 rupees, I am told. Media has been showing experts saying things like that. I am not an expert myself. So what will be the penalty? Would it be 30%, 40%? You have schemes where you declare it. This is declared money. This is money which is declared as coming from so-and-so individuals. They were members of the Congress party, elected representatives apparently, who had made that contribution. So it was amount more than probably 20,000 at that point in time. So it was a contravention of that. So what would you impose as a fine? 10,000 rupees? 10 times the amount? 100 times the amount? On 14 lakhs, how much would be 100 times? It would be 14.5 crores. What is the amount?
So you are of the opinion that this fine is an unfair amount. Yes, we'll try and fix that line.
So is it commensurate in any way? Whether the
Yes, Tuhin, will you respond to that quickly? And then I bring in Arima Sundaram, senior advocate, who will be joining me shortly.
Issues have been taken in the court of
the freezing of accounts is nowhere commensurate to the is over 200 crores. Where is the proportion of the penalty which is being imposed? Okay. Do you freeze all the accounts? You deregister the party. You do something on the Congress. If it has done such a wrong thing, you derecognize the Congress party. Why this drama about freezing accounts? You just say the Congress has done such a wrong thing. We derecognize the Congress party. It is silly. It is immature.
Okay.
It is
quickly,
very childish.
Tuhin, go ahead, please. Yeah.
No, I think the Congress over here is clearly being economical with the truth. This issue was taken up in the court of law. And if there was merit in their argument, the court would have stayed the decision of the income tax. Rather, they have only maintained that the income tax has collated enough evidence to embark upon the actions that it has.
All right. I would request all the panelists to continue to be with us. Arima Sundaram, quick questions to him, and I'm coming back to all of you. Arima Sundaram, really appreciate your time. Senior advocate of the Supreme Court is joining us live now. Mr. Sundaram, this allegation coming from various political parties about lack of level playing field ahead of elections. How do you look at these multiple developments? chain of events, one would say, arrest of Arvind Kejriwal by the Enforcement Directorate, Congress saying that all its accounts have been frozen, and then details of electoral bonds which show that the ruling dispensation is the biggest beneficiary.
Look, without a doubt, the events which have transpired have definitely put various opposition parties on the back foot. There is no doubt that with elections imminent, these actions having been taken have put the opposition parties on the back foot. You cannot deny that. It has been advantage BJP. You cannot deny that. However, having said that, I must say one more thing. Every single action taken has had legal backing. You may then raise a question about timing. I'll come to that subsequently. But the fact is, every action has legal backing. Whether you look at the electoral bonds issue, was a decision of a constitutional bench of the Supreme Court. And it so happened that happenstance, the BJP appears to be the beneficiary of it. What happened with the freezing of accounts was pursuant to an alleged non-disclosure of income tax. What happened with regard to the arrest of the Delhi Chief Minister is something which has happened to a number of people under the PMLA and on not answering 9 summons. Now, if you take each one of these, you would find that it has a legal backing which fortuitously has worked to the advantage of the BJP and the great disadvantage of the opposition. And is the BJP making political capital out of these, let me say, holes or chinks in the armor of the opposition parties? Yes, the BJP is making political capital out of such chinks. But it is but natural in politics that any political party would seek to make political capital when the opportunity presents itself. Unfortunately, the opposition parties have chinks in their armor, have presented opportunities, and those opportunities have been taken. And we must realize that in today's politics, no opportunity will be missed.
Absolutely.
This is no longer the days of the Oxford debates or the gentleman boxing when you don't knock a person when he's on his way down. But in modern day politics, whether in India or all over the world, you make capital out of any situation and you make hay when the sun shines.
Okay, Mr. Sundaram.
Now that's exactly what has happened. To answer your question, are the opposition parties on the back foot with this chain of events? Answer, yes. But are these chain of events something which is created out of thin air, fabricated? Answer, no.
Okay, so tell me, how do you look at these chain of events from the legal point of view?
On the legal point of view, the fact is, if there was non-disclosure, there is power for the Income Tax Department to have passed the order that they did. Do they pass such an order in all cases? Not necessarily. Did they pass it in this case? Yes. Can it be said that the Congress has been unfortunate by the Income Tax Department acting very strictly and throwing the book at them and applying the law strictly in a manner which they had the discretion not to do immediately? Yes, that is an answer. But at the same time, have they done so illegally, not warranted by law, not allowed under law? To that, my answer has to be in the negative and say they have not done anything against law. Now, the point of it is also is that if these accounts have been frozen unlawfully, and if I'm not mistaken, that happened some time ago, surely there is legal recourse. And I want to know what has happened as an outcome of those legal proceedings. And have they taken the legal recourse? And what has the court decided as to whether it was warranted or not? So the point I'm trying to make to you is, maybe political capital is being made, hay is being harvested because the sun is shining, but the fact is, each one of these actions is individually backed by law.
Okay, so the actions are backed by law, but the political parties and the entire opposition says that the timing is a suspect because this is just weeks to go before the first phase.
Well, the fact is, if the court did not give them relief, that means the court did not find that the actions were illegal, and the court has decided not to grant relief. Well, the point I'm trying to make is, I'm sure Mr. Kejriwal on his side will make political capital out of this. Don't forget Mr. George Fernandez, at the time of emergency, fought the elections from behind bars and won by a record margin of more than 4 lakh votes. So I'm sure that Mr. Kejriwal will also like to make political capital out of the situation. And this is all a question of politics. The fact is, the law has been used, and many people will say has been used for political purposes.
Okay.
But the fact is, the law has been used. It's not that an unlawful act has been done.
All right. So thank you so much for joining us, and let me bring in T.S. Singh and make him respond to this. So here is the legal opinion. Of course, there is a different way to look at it. You had Mr. Colin Gonsalves having a different viewpoint, but T.S. Singh, there's no misuse of law per se. If the Congress was not in the wrong, then you would have got some relief. That has not really happened.
Maharaji, Mr. Sundaram has put it very nicely. On the one hand, he has said there has not been a misuse of law, but he has said there has been a selective use of law. That is what we are talking about. The executive is being used to target the opposition. That's exactly what we are saying. Why did not the ED or any other agency proactively register a case in the bonds matter? Quid pro quo. Supreme Court made statements regarding that. Don't arrest anybody, but did you file even a case? So you are using law selectively. The executive is using law selectively. That is exactly what the opposition is saying.
Okay, but Siddharth Sharma, of course you will look at the chain of events, and these developments has united the entire opposition. The kind of solidarity which has been shown by multiple leaders in opposition for Mr. Kejriwal is very, very clear. They have all called this arrest unconstitutional. But when it comes to following the law, how is it that you have not got any relief so far?
Well, Maria, I would not like to go into repetitive mode. I've already answered those questions. According to the PMLA law, if there is a law and there is an abuse of law. If you start abusing law, then from extrapolating from what Aryaman Sundaram said, then in this nation, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Mr. Lal Krishna Advani were also in jail, and that was also under some kind of law. Bhagat Singh was also incarcerated in jail, that was also under some law. Veer Savarkar was also in jail, that was also under some law. Even Lord Krishna was in jail, that was also because of Kansas law. So let us not get into those kind of polemics. They don't serve anything. The point here is very simple. PMLA, okay, I'll come to the PMLA aspect itself. If the PMLA Act says that proceeds of the crime reaching anybody also makes him an accused, isn't it clear now that Aurobindo Pharma, which was an accused as per the ED itself, and the BJP took money from Aurobindo Pharma in electoral bonds, so is it now going to be the Modi Sarkar prosecuting the BJP for having proceeds of the crime? Okay. Shouldn't it be doing so? So the point here is, it's not that legal anymore. As I said, it's as simple as that. Election season is on. BJP has gone on an offensive saying that we are going to have 400 par. But unfortunately, a few weeks ago in Chandigarh, they could not even get 37 seats. So somebody who is not getting 37 seats, if it needs to get 370 seats, the only way it has is bounce out the opposition. Intimidate them, intimidate the opposition and bounce out the opposition. That's what they are doing.
Tuhin, here is the opposition which seems to be united in its attack. So certainly you have much to explain that this is some kind of dangerous political game ahead of elections?
Well, the opposition is united today because they feel that they could be next. There are multiple videos of Congress leaders, be it Ajay Makin, be it, Sandeep Dixit and many other leaders who have actually confirmed, who have actually, charged the Aam Aadmi Party with robbing 100 crores from the exchequer. They have in fact filed a police complaint against the Aam Aadmi Party on the same liquor issue. So this only exposes the hypocrisy of the opposition, because they know that, they feel they are entitled to some form of loot because that is the only thing which binds them together. In fact, even today, Ravneet Bittu, the Congress member of Parliament from Punjab, has released a video where he's talking of the gross corruption which the Aam Aadmi Party government in Punjab is indulging in. So today, the only reason they're getting united is because they know that, corruption, a cooperative model of loot and corruption is probably the only thing that was going to bind them together. And that, again, is not succeeding because of the action of ED.
So, will you come on this, Anshul? The point being made is essentially that this issue, which actually the opposition took to the Supreme Court, you got no relief that there has been some alleged misuse of agencies.
No, Mr. Deo said that there has been a selective sort of misuse of power. That's absolutely correct. But to take that point a little further, not only has there been misuse of power, but these kind of agencies have been weaponized in order to threaten and intimidate people into giving money. Electoral bond shows that not only has people been targeted, but they've been targeted for a purpose of extortion. And they're doing that to get people in their side as well. As for, the hypocrisy, which the BJP always holds a moral high ground on the people who they think that we were political rivals. But you must remember that the BJP, the people that have taken into their side, had serious cases of corruption. The metaphor of the washing machine is absolutely correct. You switch sides, and then all your clothes that are soiled are immediately washed. So there's a double sort of siege over here. Not only is they used as intimidation, but also selection. And that is what is wrong with this tyranny of the executive here. And it's turning completely totalitarian. Okay. And that's why we say that democracy is being subverted.
Okay, let me go back to the experts on the show. And Colin, coming to the point that has been shared by Arima Sundaram on that there is no misuse of law per se. As a lawyer yourself, how do you look at the legal arguments which have been put forth by the various parties in opposition with regards to these cases?
I find it very funny to say that there's no misuse of the enforcement agencies. Right across the country, you have case after case of the enforcement agencies doing exactly what the central government tells them to do. The enforcement agency is supposed to be independent. It's not supposed to take orders either from the central government or any other political party. But everyone knows and everyone sees it day in and day out that they've been used to target particular parties at the behest of the central government. When you say level playing field, you mean that the investigating officer will be independent. And I can tell you that in the Adani case, for example, if the investigating officers were genuinely independent, that is to say they had no connections with the central government and they would not take orders from the central government, that Adani case would have taken a very interesting turn. And I find it so odd that people point fingers at the Congress. I don't know if they are corrupt or not. But the electoral bond scheme, I'll just finish in a minute. I'll finish in a minute.
Yes.
The electoral bond case is a case where the party in power prosecutes persons and then the persons come and give you huge bribes in terms of electoral bonds and the prosecution stop. Isn't that corruption at a very high level? Isn't that corruption designed and planned at the highest levels of the central government? Is a single FIR filed against anybody from the BJP for putting this institutionalized corruption system in place? Not a single FIR. And then we say, well, the courts haven't said anything. But you know what happened in the emergency? All kinds of arrests took place across the country and the courts were silent.
Okay.
Are we in a similar situation in India today? Where the courts are closing their eyes to what every average and ordinary citizen can see and understand.
Okay.
The tyranny of the central government.
It's tyranny is what Colin is saying something that opposition is of the opinion as well, that there is visible misuse and also that there is no fair investigation per se.
It's very shocking and unfortunate that a senior lawyer of the Supreme Court should cast aspersions on the judicial system. That by itself, there are no words to condemn this insinuation. When it comes to electoral bonds, the BJP per se has got amount in a ratio which is very proportionate to the number of MPs that it has. I think, it is the smaller parties, particularly TMC and DMK, which have a lot to answer. The fact is that, the same people, Future Gaming has given money to all, probably more money to TMC, more money to DMK. And in fact, when you cast aspersions on the courts, you should, at least see the determination of the courts in actually making the SBI reveal everything. There were technical glitches in revealing all this information in quick time, as Harish Salve had very clearly explained. But the courts were unrelenting, and yet you blame the court for being biased. Yet you blame the court for being, skewed to the ruling party. That's something which is really unfortunate, and that needs to be condemned.
Okay, Snehata Srivastava, one argument is, and you have an opinion to talk about this, that the opposition, of course, stood with the, appreciated the judgment of the court when it came with regards to the electoral bonds, calling them unconstitutional, and the entire data, the SBI was told to put out all the details. But now, if they do not get relief in various cases of opposition leaders, then it's biased. So I'm just trying to understand, how is one judgment fair and the another not fair?
Madam Maria, it's a politics actually, I would say, because everything which opposition is doing, the ruling party criticize that, and whatever ruling party does, the opposition parties criticize that. So I think it is the same situation, both sides. And I will only add one thing, that when it comes to the legal battle, any party should be very serious about it and should respect the legal process, the courts, the investigative agencies, because that itself goes against the party. And that they should always keep in mind. Whatever is being asked for, wherever they would ask to be present, they should follow that. Otherwise, it goes against them. So for that, I think the individual are responsible.
Gopi Rawat, since a petition has been filed by the opposition saying that there has been no level playing field in these elections, and there has to be efforts that have to be made by the Election Commission, what can the Election Commission do?
Whatever specific points and allegations are made in that complaint, I think Election Commission will get down to the task of investigating and taking corrective measures if required.
So, but can they tell Enforcement Directorate to delay action, or can they issue any such instruction to any of the agencies?
Certainly, if they find that it is unfair, unwarranted and illegal, they can definitely do it. And in Karnataka election of 2018, it was done.
Okay. Could you recall that for our viewers? What exactly was the situation like?
Some raids were conducted, and in one of the raids, nothing was found. Election Commission came down very heavily on the department and said, nothing doing, you will not do anything in the name of investigation till the elections are over.
Okay, so politically speaking now, Nirja, and I'll go back to the three politicians on the show for their last comments. There is an advantage and a double advantage for one political party. The opposition is worried about its funds. The leaders are behind bars. That's also a fact which is staring at all of us. And then there are investigations and raids that are happening. So in run-up to elections, do you think that can be a talking point which will impact the decision of the Aam Aadmi? Or it will be more of a talking point in the studios?
Look, Maria, that is the central question that hangs out there unanswered today. So far, the the opposition leaders being targeted selectively by the agencies, I don't think has had traction at the ground level. It has had traction with the opposition leaders, with the politicians. It has even brought them together. But it hasn't become an issue, poll issue so far. Now, Arvind Kejriwal's arrest in the middle of the election, that is the question to see, will it have traction with ordinary people to say, Zada hi ho raha hai? And I think, much has been said about, the BJP, of course, it is politics. The BJP will utilize the chinks in the opposition's armor. The BJP, as has been said, will make hay while the sun shines, and has also planned and prepared for that sun to shine. But elections are the heartbeat of Indian democracy. The Election Commission even goes to the extent of transferring officials who may be partisan to allow a free and fair election to take place in India. And I think when that gets, why do I feel unhappy? If the opposition leaders are guilty, they must be punished, even if it's being done selectively, and we see it being done selectively. But I feel unhappy because you are taking away from the level playing field, which is the right of the opposition leaders, no matter how weak they are. And it is the right of I, as a voter, to have that level field ensured.
Okay.
So it is that which makes me unhappy.
Yes. So the three politicians now on the screen.
One other thing,
yes,
Maria,
please, go ahead.
I say to Sunil, you can call me left, liberal, right, centrist, whatever you want. I don't judge people I don't call you right. I don't want to. I will take what you say very seriously and counter that or agree with that.
Ma'am, you have covered Indian politics for decades, so I'm sure you understand when they speak this way only. Either you are branded as left or right every now and then. So perhaps that's the best part. You're branded by both the sides. So let me bring in Tuhin Sinha, Anshul Avijit and Siddharth Sharma. Siddharth Sharma, the question is, of course, before the Aam Aadmi Party as well. What next for Aam Aadmi Party? Because Mr. Kejriwal has been the central figure. He has been the image, the dominant image. In fact, he has been the Aam Aadmi Party. How do you plan to take the entire campaigning and everything forward?
Yeah, one thing, let's be very clear. Kejriwal is a name as well as an idea, because Kejriwal is an idea which says that governments should be serving people and not punishing people. That is the critical difference between the BJP and Aam Aadmi Party, that the Aam Aadmi Party sees itself as a service provider. A government has to serve people, not punish people. Punishment is a court's job, not a government's job. And BJP essentially thinks that it is a punisher in chief. That makes the critical difference, and that difference ensured that even a person like Bhagwant Mann could get 92 seats in Punjab. Aam Aadmi Party has MLAs in 4 states, it has mayors in 2 cities, it has public representatives, elected representatives, nearly 1,500 elected representatives in 20 states. How come that happened? Because Kejriwal is an idea which states that people have to be served and people need not be punished. I say this why? Because if you go to a cricket stadium, people don't see politics as blood sport. BJP has to come out of this delusion. Politics is not blood sport. People go to a stadium not to see blood being spilled. They want to see 2 teams playing a match fair and square and one beating the other. BJP has taken politics to a level of blood sport, and that exactly is what people will be very, very off. Nobody in the stadium goes to see blood being spilled either of this team or that team.
I'll give the last word to Tuhin Sinha, but before that, Anshul, quickly.
No, I mean, the BJP has hit completely terminal panic. I mean, it's extricating like decades-old cases from the woodwork and then slapping disproportionate fines. Absolutely absurd. Arresting chief ministers. This is all to divert attention from the basic issue, which is skyrocketing unemployment here, which is punishing inflation. That's the real issue. The manufacturing slump in this country, and you give figures, fudging figures of poverty being reduced to 5%. It's an absolute joke. When you say that you're giving grains to 80 crore people and poverty has been reduced to 5%, is an absolute joke. You've thrown the economy under the bus, and this is how you're trying to divert attention in order to gain traction. We will fight this election with these policies.
Some kind of diversionary tactic is what the opposition feels, and that is the reason why we are seeing an unfair match.
Well, Maria, this opposition is in a time warp. They need to seriously introspect. The Aam Aadmi Party has been the biggest scam in India's political system. They should just go back 13 years and remember how they used to ask for donations from common people, and people used to actually donate.
And learn from BJP, and have a bank account, electoral bond account of 8,250 crores. I don't want to learn from BJP. BJP has 8,250 crore rupees worth of illegal money as per the Supreme Court. And Tuhin is saying, asking me to follow him.
Yes. Tuhin, go ahead.
They were selling a dream which has now turned out to be a scam. And you know, the same people are so disillusioned today that they are supporting Arvind Kejriwal's arrest. As far as Congress is concerned, Congress has traditionally relied upon the Dheeraj Sahu model of funding, the 351 crore of cash which was discovered. That has been their traditional model. And so today they feel rattled because the Dheeraj Sahus are being arrested. The Dheeraj Sahus are being, their sway over Indian politics has come to an end. So I think these parties need to introspect instead of questioning the timing. The ED follows its own timings in the same way the Supreme Court has followed its own timing in the electoral bond case.
Okay, all right. Neerja, would you like to add and give us the last thought? As a veteran journalist yourself?
No, I would really hope that this election, Mr. Modi is all poised to win for a third term. But, the opposition needs a chance, a fair chance in a democracy that has been so vibrant, and we've been proud of India's democracy. I hope it's going to be a free and fair election in 2024.
Yes, that's certainly something that we all of us hope for as well. I would thank all the guests, Snehlata Srivastav, Neerja Chaudhary, OP Rawat, Colin Gonsalves, Siddharth Sharma, Tuhin Sinha and Anshul Avajit. That's all from me on this edition of The Big Fight. I'll be seeing you next week with another issue. Till then, thanks so much for watching.